All right, happy Wednesday. Welcome back to another training session that I do every single Wednesday. I go live and I talk about some of the key concepts that are what I'm seeing happening in not only my own life and other men's lives that is uprooting or disrupting and causing conflict in their marriage or their fatherhood. And this is a hot topic, being a nice guy. So many, man, not only does this just affecting the population in such a broad scope, right? With men in general, but actually I find in the first responder community, I think that we have a DNA makeup, believe it or not, because I've just seen this in so many first responder men, is that we actually have a makeup that is designed. I think a lot of us come with this nice guy attitude already and this nice guy syndrome. And it's a avatar or a characteristic, an archetype, if you will, that is very common in the first responder community. So if you're a first responder male, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. You probably identify as a nice guy and believe that, man, I'm such a good guy. And people actually probably tell you, man, you're actually a really nice guy. I can't believe she doesn't like you. I can't believe that your kids don't like you or that your marriage is in shambles. Like, what's her problem? Like, does she not understand how lucky she is? And how many times have we as said as guys, man, I'm doing everything right. I do a good job. And like, the only thing that's happening is my wife is still nagging me. I can never make her happy. How many of you feel that way, that you can never make her happy no matter what you do? She just nags you. She tries to control you, maybe even like your mother, right? There's some of that feeling. And so if this is you, don't worry. I'm going to jump into this. I'm going to actually break down 4 big topics. Number 1 is, what is the makeup of a nice guy, so that you can kind of understand. And as you're going along, you can say, yep, that's me. And then number 2, we're going to talk about the ineffective nice guy paradigm, why this is such a regular theme in our lives and it's not working. And then 3, we'll talk about what it actually means to be an integrated male. And these are the characteristics you actually want to strive for and bring into your life. And then we're going to talk about the steps that you need to actually recover to be from nice guy syndrome. You and I both know that if you're a nice guy, it ain't working. And nice guys, as the saying goes, always finish last. And there's a reason. I am a nice guy, a self-identified nice guy, and I've had my own string of problems. So it's going to be really, really helpful. Before we jump in, just a quick reminder, if you're a first responder man and you want to upgrade and build an unshakable marriage and deeper connection with your kids, join my Facebook group. It's free, called First Responder Fathers. Simply reach out to me. You can comment below, drop me a line, let me know you want to join, and I will send you the private link. It's an amazing group of guys that just want to up-level their game and hold each other accountable. So if you're interested in that, definitely join. I want to get you guys in there. And then also, last but not least, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Joel Evan. I am a former first responder of 15 years as a police officer, working in both Oakland and San Francisco. And I'm also a best-selling author of the book Ignite, and podcast host, and life coach, health coach. And I'm also the founder of First Responder Fathers, which is a men's group, again, building unshakable marriages and deeper connection with their kids. So if you want to join the mastermind, let me know about that. All right, let's jump into nice guy syndrome and why it's a plague. It's plaguing us is what it's doing. Let's talk about what is the makeup, right? And if you're a nice guy, I guarantee you've said this, that if I just keep doing good and doing everything that's right, then I'm going to get love. I'm going to have my needs will get met, and I'm going to have a problem do-free life. Like, how many of you said that? I know I have many times. And that's why I just keep trying to do good, keep trying to do what is right or believe to be right, and hoping that my wife will love me a bit more. My kids will love me. I'm a provider. I do good. I want them to see that. And I'm hoping for more ease in my life, and it never worked. So let's talk about some of the qualities that we see in a nice guy. Number 1, they're givers typically, right? Very generous. They do generous things because it validates to them in their mind that I am a good person and I want to be known as a good person. Number 2, they like to fix and caretake a lot. So if a person has a problem or has a need, they want to be the one that like helps them out. And so if this is especially in relationships with like your wife, I know for me, if she's angry, depressed, sad, we try to attempt to solve it and we want to fix that situation. And if we can't, then that must mean I'm a bad person. I've thought that way many times. Seeking approval from others, right? We are always looking for validation from others. So everything a nice guy does or says, we do it in some way that is actually calculated to gain someone else's approval, or at least avoid that disapproval. Okay. Number 4, avoiding conflict. We seek to keep that smooth world. Don't want to rock the boat. That's how I've always been. And it's really funny because I would say that to my wife. She's like, "You're not nice." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I never raise my voice. I'm always like not raising my voice. I walk away from a lot of arguments to like keep things cool. And you're loud and yelling at me. Like, how am I not, how am I not nice? But it's interesting. You're actually surreptitiously not a nice person because you're being dishonest by not expressing your feelings, which we'll talk about more. The 5th thing, you must hide your flaws or mistakes, right? And we're afraid that others will get mad at if they see that, right? So there's this toxic shame that comes with us, and we're afraid that someone might leave us, right, if they see these mistakes or our shortcomings are exposed. We also seek the right way to do things. So we believe that there's this key to having a happy, problem-free life. And we're convinced that the only way you can figure out the only way that to figure out the right ways to do everything, and nothing should ever go wrong. Like, we are convinced of that. We typically repress our feelings, right? We tend to analyze rather than to feel. And that's a big one in my life. Like, I've always conditioned myself at an early age to not feel negative emotions and always live in the positive, optimistic kind of life. And there's good things about that, right? But I'm also repressing a lot of these feelings. And so, especially as first responders, emotionally, it's actually a positive thing to be detached, right? You don't want to be attached to an emotional situation. It could cause your life, right? You need to be having your head on a swivel. So we a lot of times will see feeling as a waste of time and energy. And so that's a big one. Trying to be different than our dads or fathers, right? A lot of times nice guys will say that they had unavailable, absent, passive, angry fathers, or even alcoholic, right? And our goal, our mission is we're going to be different. We're not going to be just like our dads. Our kids are going to have a way better life than my terrible father. More comfortable relating to women than men, right? Sometimes you'll see that with nice guys that had few male friends, and they try to convince themselves that they're different from other men, right? By that very nature. Like, I'm not that kind of guy because I'm actually even better. I do these kind of things. We tend to believe that we're not selfish. We don't get angry, and we don't have any abusive traits. I would say that all the time. Like, I can't, like, how could my kids or wife be upset? Like, I give them everything they need. I maintain my composure. Rarely do I raise my voice or get angry. They don't get abused. They don't get spanked. They eat organic. What's the problem? What is the problem? Another one is difficulty making our needs a priority, right? We often feel that it is selfish to put our needs first. We believe it's actually more virtuous to put the needs of others ahead of our own. And that's very typical. I can imagine, it turns into this victim mindset of like, I never do anything for myself. I always do for you. And then that eventually erupts and boils over. You know that feeling. It's like a pressure cooker because you feel like you're doing everything for everybody else and you're not getting anything fulfilled in your own life. This is the last one, making your partner the emotional center, right? Only if they're happy, if your partner's happy, then life is happy, right? And so we focus a tremendous amount of energy on these intimate relationships. And I can totally relate to that, where it really just, if my wife wasn't happy, it just made things uneasy in the household, right? Just the energy was not good. So everybody's different. But if you were nodding your head to any of those, or most of the majority of them, you are a nice guy. I'm sorry. All right, let's talk about actually the ineffective. Well, no, we'll go right into let's go to part 2, the integrated male. So here's some qualities you want to strive for, guys. This is how to be more of an integrated lifestyle, right? Number 1 is you have a strong sense of yourself. You actually like yourself just as you are. Yeah, right. Good luck with that one. That's a tough one, right? To actually be okay with yourself. I know for a lot of people, including myself, like that actually feels squeamish, right? Taking responsibility. Number 2, taking responsibility for getting your own needs met. That's another really challenging one, because getting your own needs met, it feels selfish. But by not having your needs met, it's actually more detrimental, right? Number 3, being comfortable with your masculinity and or sexuality, right? Being comfortable with the masculine side. Right now, we're seeing such a push with society, pushing us to this more feminine society, and even like it not being okay to be masculine, not being okay to be aggressive. It's considered like a bad thing. We want no one's feelings to be hurt. And I think this is actually just as toxic. Okay. Having integrity, doing what is right, not what is expedient. Think about that. Doing what is right, not what like needs to be rushed or just needs to get done. Do what is right. An integrated male is a leader. He's willing to provide for and protect those he cares about. I think most guys that are probably listening to this understand that. And they are providers. They already naturally are protectors. Leader is so interesting because even though I had these qualities, especially as a first responder, like that was no problem in my off-duty life as well. But I was not a leader at my house because I was so passive aggressive and I would subordinate myself and my own needs so much. I was not stepping up into a leadership role. I was actually being apathetic to my wife. I was trying to be such a nice guy that I let her do a lot of the things because I thought by doing that, I was being nice and being good. But that's not a leader. Leaders don't do that. Leaders have to step up for what's right. That goes back to what's expedient, right? Doing what is right, not as what is expedient. So understand that distinction. You might be a leader, a colonel, a captain, a sergeant. You might be somebody of priority at your work as a leader, and people respect you for your title and for what you do and how you lead. But you come home and you're not a leader because you actually take a back seat to that role in leadership. So be clear on that one. It's a little distinction. The next one to being an integrated male is being clear, being direct, being expressive. We just talked about that, right? You can be nurturing and giving without caretaking or problem solving. That's a tough one too, to be nurturing and giving without trying to always fix everything and problem solving. Again, guys are just programmed and wired to fix things and generate. We're generators, and women are a little bit different. And so there's that duality, and we have to kind of meet them in the middle, and we have to meet women where they're at in that divine feminine. It can be challenging. You're doing a little reprogramming. It's not natural for us, right? To just be there with their feelings. It feels ugly. It feels yucky. Like, okay, lighten up, like be positive again. Things will get better. Like, you can do this. Don't worry. You don't want to say that all the time, right? You just want to see, hear, make sure that your woman or your child knows that you hear them and you see them. And that can be difficult for us to do because we just want to fix. And then the last one is knowing how to set boundaries and not afraid to work through conflict. Again, when you're the nice guy, we typically push things away and we don't want that conflict. And so that can actually get in the way of us being a leader. So the integrated male, I think here's just the bottom line. The punchline is this: an integrated male accepts that he is perfectly imperfect. I love that. It is it's a worthy cause to strive for. So I know I'm looking at the time. We're about 13 minutes. I want to wrap this up in the next 2 minutes and keep it to a short 15-minute video. But last couple of things we'll talk about. Number 3, the third pillar, the ineffective nice guy paradigm. This is what the ineffective nice guy thinks. He thinks that if I can just hide my flaws and become what I think others want me to be, then I will be loved. Then I will get my needs met. And then I'll have a problem-free life. And so what does the ineffective nice guy do? He just tries harder. How many of you have been doing that? You're just like, I'm just going to keep putting more effort. I'm going to try even harder. I'm going to show my wife I'm even the nicest guy. I'm going to take her on a vacation. I'm going to buy her something. I'm going to spend more time. I'm going to go all in. And that lasts for like a week or whatever. And then things get a little bit better and then they go back. Well, I'm here to tell you, I've seen this happen so many times, and it happened in my own life, that I would just try harder because that's just, again, I'm a generator. I'm a doer. And I would just try harder and harder and harder, and I would get 0 results. I talk about this a lot in my program. If you guys want to 10x your marriage or your relationship with your kids, do it. Working harder on what you already know will just produce a little bit more results, just a little bit more results, because you're increasing your effort, but you're still doing the same things. So you're giving an output of 120%, but it doesn't matter because you're doing the things that actually aren't important. And so even though you're working harder and you're generating a lot more, you're doing things that you don't have the skill set. You don't know what you're actually doing. I didn't know. I had to hire multiple coaches and go through multiple programs. You don't actually know what it is you need to do. And so in your paradigm, in your world, this feels good, but your wife and kids aren't getting that. They're not getting any of these results. And so it's funny, actually, when guys come to my program, I'm like, you don't need to do all these other things. If you would just be super focused like a sniper and just focus on the 20% here, you don't need to work 120%. If you just focus on this 20% that I want you to focus on and do this really well, you'll 10x your marriage and you'll get 10x the results. It goes back to like the definition of insanity. We say that quote as first responders all the time. Like, why are you calling me again? Like, you know what the definition of insanity is? Doing the same thing over. You guys are doing it in your marriage and your family. I hate to tell it to you. I know, because I did it for 11 freaking years. And when you want to get out of that, you actually have to do something different to get to the next level. Doing the same thing, but working harder, you're going to like 2x your results because you're working harder. So yeah, it takes more time and more effort. You want to shortcut that, you got to do something different, believe it or not. All right, last part of this, and we'll wrap it up. I want to help you guys recover from being nice guys as I don't want to say former nice guy, as a guy who's working on his nice guyness. To help facilitate this, here's what you need to do. A couple steps, 5 steps. Number 1, you need to identify how you seek approval. How do you do that? How is that showing up in your life? And what are your needs? Think about that. So identify how you're always looking for external validation, most likely from your wife. Number 2, take good care of yourself. Take good care of your health, your physical health, working out, the things you're putting in your body. Make sure there's a refuel in your self-care. Number 3, give yourself positive emotions. Okay. Give yourself positive affirmations. A lot of times we talk negative to ourselves, and it's crazy. It's like you would never talk that way to someone else. So why are you talking that way to yourself? So give yourself some positive affirmations. Number 4, spend extended periods of time alone. That feels scary. And the more I've done this kind of presence work, it's actually a good time for a lot of self-reflection and a lot of refuel. We're so addicted to these phones. I'm guilty of it too, as a guy whose business runs on social media. We're so much involved in them that it's a dopamine hit, and we need to reset those pathways and become more centered. A lot of us are not present, and we're always complaining about not being present. You can get that. You can access that by actually spending time alone. And the last one, number 5, is revealing yourself to safe people. How do you do that? You do that by joining men's groups like the one I run. You do that by joining maybe other local men's groups. You do that by having a good friend that you can actually talk about these things. Not something like choir practice after work where you're simply drinking and it's a nice time to share your war stories and how you almost died, or things, about how your kids and wife suck. It's a time to sit around the bonfire and actually communicate and get things off your chest, but then also find a nurturing, healing path, and not just some cathartic release where you complain, right? That does nothing. So guys, I hope that was helpful for you. I know for me, that hit home, just reviewing all my notes of what it means to be a nice guy, hit home for me again. And so, man, I hope that you got a lot out of this. Drop me a line if you like this video, if you want to see more of them, and also comment below hero. Comment hero if you're interested in joining just my free Facebook group and you want to learn how to up level your life. I just created a couple of things. So I've got a free PDF that it's a wellness guide for first responders. It covers mind, body, spirit, as well as marriage and kids. Also, I've got a 3-day mini course that I just shot that covers habits of elite fathers, communication principles, and how to conquer work-life balance. It's a 3-day mini course. I want to give that to you for free. So if you're interested, comment hero below. I'd love to have you in my first responder men community, because I really, truly believe that when you heal the relationship, which most of us we actually push away and avoid, but it's actually the key to your growth. And I think not only just 10xing your marriage and your kids, like that's great, but actually who you are, the self-growth and development in you. So I truly believe that because I've seen it in my own life and many others. I hope this was helpful for you men out there. Have an amazing Wednesday. Drop me a line if I can help you in any way. I would love to connect and help you. Thanks. Bye.